Hey everyone, and welcome to a new video on Bite of Geek. Today, well, I'm downsizing. I'm going from my Corsair 400D all the way down to a Mini-ITX, yes, the Meshlicious from Sunny Side Up design. So, wish me luck. So the Meshlicious from Sunny Side Up design is a case that's been out for a little while now. It kind of struggled a little bit during the pandemic just with availability, but you can pretty much pick these up quite easily now. It comes in a number of different flavors, I would say. So you can get a PCIe 3.0 and a 4.0 version. This is the 4.0 version. You can get it in black and white. You can get a full mesh case, or you can get one with the kind of like tempered glass side panel as well. All those kinds of things you can chop and change around and buy them extra if you want to change your mind later on. So it's quite flexible from that point of view. As a case, certainly a lot of the reviews that I've watched previously, it seems to be generally light. I would say, it is a case that is seen more as one that needs an AIO for cooling in it. So with what I'm doing is I'm trying to swap over as many of the existing components that I've already got into this build. So to start with, I will be using the stock cooler. The CPU that I've got, the 3700X, isn't latest and greatest CPU. It's plenty enough for my needs at the moment. So the stock cooler that came with that should be sufficient, and obviously this is a fully mesh case as well. So time will tell. I will have to see what the temperatures are like, and if it's not cool enough, then obviously I will look at an AIO option or a different air cooler. There are some good air coolers that will work quite well within this case. I'm going to be putting in my Zotac 3060 Ti card in here as well, so that will fit nicely in this case, and I'll stick a couple of front mounted fans on it as well. So really the new bits on this, I've got the Aorus X570 motherboard, which I reviewed on the channel recently, so that will be going in. I've also got 2 sticks of 16 gig Corsair RGB RAM, so that's going to be going in, and obviously there is the graphics card that I have previously installed. So this video is it's going to be a little bit of a montage, as it were, of build scenes. So sit back and enjoy, and then I'll give you my final thoughts about it when I've got this all set up. So first up, it's dismantling the Meshlicious Mini-ITX case. This is a case that I bought off of eBay, so it was used. So it has the kind of like the added advantage, it comes with the 3D printed feet, which just lifts up the case a little bit, helps with the HDMI and DisplayPort cables on the bottom. But it is definitely you need to take apart the case to be able to work inside of this. So as you can see, fairly clean on the inside. There's only kind of like one main section on the inside, which is where the motherboard is going to sit. So next, I'm dismantling some of the key components from my ATX build. So my B550A Pro motherboard is coming out, along the CPU and the RAM and the NVMe drives that are in there. Everything else I'm just going to leave in the case for now. But obviously I'm interested in mainly the CPU and the cooler from this system. So pretty much straightforward dismantle process, and well, I managed to get the cooler off without taking the CPU out the socket, and that thermal paste doesn't look that great, but never mind. So next up is the X570i Mini-ITX board from Aorus. First of all, I'm going to install the NVMe drive. So these are hidden away underneath the cooler here. There's little fan on this as well. So there's one on the underside of the board as well. So I've decided to take the heatsink off my Corsair MP600 Pro NVMe drive. I'm going to stick that inside on the front of the board, and then just get this all screwed back up. Again, pretty straightforward process. Just turn the board over, and there is just a little slot on the side of the board, as you can see there, where the second NVMe drive goes. So I'm going to put my Sabrent Rocket, which is runs slightly slower than the Corsair drive, so that's why I'm putting that one on the underside. And then it's a case of my Ryzen 3700X CPU going into all being cleaned up. Apply some, so this is MX4 thermal paste. Just put a reasonable amount on here, and then it is a case of mounting back on that stock cooler and heatsink. Always a tricky thing, I think, with AMD coolers, but on it goes. Just hold that down and tighten it up. And just in the front of the case, I'm popping in a couple of Corsair fans. So these are from the old system. They've had a good clean up, and hopefully they'll help with the airflow. So it's at this point where it all goes horribly wrong for me on this. Well, let's explain. So as you can see, the motherboard's not in the case, the cooler's not on a CPU, and neither of those are on the motherboard. It just wouldn't fit in the case. In my head, this was smaller. Maybe the ATX size case kind of distorts that view of the cooler, but it's a good couple of centimeters too tall. And you know, even though this is low profile RGB RAM, even with the best recommended coolers for this case that were low profile, I couldn't find one that would allow me to fit with that RAM underneath as well. Basically, I've gone for what I mentioned at the beginning of the video that I thought I might have to do, or might go along that line, and that is an AIO. So I've gone for the EK AIO, the basic 240. You know, good reviews on this. You know, pretty decent price on it. No massive amounts of RGB or anything like that. You know, it's quite a stealth looking AIO unit, and yeah, just a pain really to get hold of. You know, they're just in and out of stock so quickly. So you know, if you're after one of these, it's kind of like order one as soon as you can find it. But inside the box, you know, there's everything that you need. You get mounting kit for AMD and Intel, and you get a couple of the VADA fans as well. So the mounting of this, you know, the instructions are really good. This is the first time I've ever used an AIO, so you know, this is a learning process for me. But you just put on 4 of these mounting screws, and then you've got these VADA S fans. These have 4-pin fan headers, and you get a so obviously you get 2 of these fans in the box, because it's a 240mm AIO, but you also get a splitter cable as well. So if you need to mount these to a single fan header point on your motherboard, you can do it. And I'm going to need to do that with this being a Mini-ITX board. It doesn't have that many fan header connectors on the motherboard. So it's just simply a case of mounting the fans onto the radiator. I have seen that some people put these fans on the opposite side of the radiator, so that they're actually at the frontmost point of the case. I'm just going with kind of like the default position as is listed in the manual for this. Really, you know, I'll look into more on that if there's any benefit really that I'm going to notice on this, but pretty straightforward process of getting these mounted in place. And then really, well, you know, it's a case of trying to get all this now into a very small space. Mini-ITX cases are a challenge in themselves, so having all this kit to try and get in, you know, what I did was get the motherboard in first, get that in place, and then really kind of like deal with mounting the radiator. And in this bit here, you can see with the power supply, I've actually rotated the power supply around from my original install orientation at the beginning of the video, so that the fan is pointing out on the case as well. And you know, lots of cables. I'm not using any 2.5-inch drives, any you know, SSDs or anything like that. In this case, it's purely going to be the NVMe drive, so I'll be able to kind of you know, keep the cables down to the minimum. The graphics card, so I've got my RTX 3060 Ti here, and you know, it mounts upside down effectively on this using the vertical mount here, so that just slots in nicely. Just remember to slide over the little graphics card clip there, and then a case of popping the RAM onto the motherboard as well. So you can see it's fairly tight in there with all the cables, but not impossible to do. I've yet to go and do a full kind of cable management at this point, but you know, it is quite tight. So my overall thoughts on this build, well, Mini-ITX systems are generally not an easy thing to do anyway. This has taken far longer to go and put together than it probably would have done if it had been in an ATX size case. The main thing on this is the cable routing, just to make sure that you know, you get the best possible thermals. Certainly this is made a little bit easier because this is the full mesh case. If you opt for the one with the glass panels, it's even more important to make sure you've got good airflow in the system. You know, I would say, you know, put aside a day if you're going to be doing this properly. If you're not really worried about, you know, where your cables are running and stuff like that, and you're just going to try and squeeze it all in the case, then you could probably do it in half the time. But to do a really good job that you know, will perform well, I think you need to put aside a good day just to make sure it's all sorted. In terms of cooling, you know, I really thought that stock cooler would have fitted inside the case. You know, it kind of, in my head, you know, it was going to fit, but that was my kind of fatal mistake on this, I guess. So lesson learned there for me. And you know, whilst I could have chosen an aftermarket cooler, there are, you know, some options available there. In reality, the price that I paid for the AIO compared to the air coolers is not that much of a difference. And you know, the AIO is super quiet once you've adjusted the fan curve in the BIOS and got your thermals to where you're comfortable with, and the actual RPMs of your fans. You know, this is super quiet on my desk, and that's really why, you know, I've gone and done that. It would have been nice to have not had that extra expense, but at the end of the day, you know, as I said at the beginning of the video, it was something I was aware of that I might end up having to go down that route. AIO is completely new to me. I know a lot of people don't like having any kind of liquid inside their PC, so you know, fingers crossed this will perform and work well for the life of the unit. But other than that, you know, I think, you know, if you're going to go down the air cooler route, choose your components carefully. You know, your air cooler, certainly your RAM height as well. I think that's one of the key things that I've taken away from this, is that, you know, the RAM that I've chosen, even though it is low profile, it's because of the RGB strip on the top of it, it's not as low as just a low profile as a bog standard DIMM that you could put in the motherboard. But overall, you know, I think it looks great. You know, it's a really nice case to build in. Yes, there are easier cases for people who've never built in a Mini-ITX to be able to build in. You know, the Cooler Master, you know, they have a number of cases. There is also a new version of the Meshlicious case. If it's not already released now, it's due very, very shortly, which is slightly bigger, slightly easier to build in they say. So you know, you might want to look out for that. But overall, you know, I'm really happy with this. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed the video, and it's something a little bit different on the channel. I've been promising to do a build for a while, but obviously with component prices that has been a bit of a challenge. But you know, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. You know, I'm prepared to take the worst of this on not doing enough kind of research, even though I thought I did. Maybe I just didn't do enough on this one. So let me know your thoughts down below. You know, what do you think of the case? What do you think of the actual build itself? And you know, if you've enjoyed this video, then don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. But as always, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.